I'm here again with Dr. David Webster, and we are going to be discussing today some questions that have been sent in by Mr. Lewis from the Sacred Heart of Mary Girls' School in Upminster in Essex, and these are their actual questions. So Dave, the first question I want to pose to you is this one. Do you agree that the ontological argument is flawed because it begins with an inductive definition? And does it provide a useful argument to prove the existence of God?
Thanks, Lloyd. And that's, I think, quite an interesting question. And it's quite a good question. And I want to answer, like philosophers always are really awkward about questions, I want to answer the second half first.
I thought you might.
Yes. Because the second half, does the ontological argument provide a good proof of the existence of God? I'm not sure it was ever meant to. I think this is the interesting point. My answer is no. Just a short answer, but I don't think it was really intended to. In one of the other videos where we defined the ontological argument that Roy Jackson talks about, he says, I think, that Aquinas, for example, makes quite clear that his proofs of God's existence aren't proofs to prove to the atheist, the non-believer. And I think you find that throughout those attempts to prove it. There are actually ways by which the believer deepens their faith, by which the person already accepts the existence of God, comes to a deeper understanding of what that must mean. So I think people who want to use the ontological argument to prove to someone who doesn't believe in God that there must be a God, because that than which no greater can be thought, etc., make a mistake. So I'm not sure that it's a very good argument, because it agrees both on a shared definition, which may not be shared, and it but it's based on a chain of reasoning, which, as we'll perhaps see, has got some problems. So I don't think it's a good way of proving to the non-believer at all. And the second, which was the first,
it's the inductive.
Yeah, is the definition of God inductive? It's certainly not the one that you would get if you asked people. If I asked you, how would you define God? That isn't probably what you came up with. That on which no greater than God. So it isn't actually a definition of God in the normal sense. It's a description of God's features, or the features contained within the concept of God. So calling it a normal definition has problems anyway. Rather, it's a description of the shared features of the standard definition. So I think that brings in some problems. And of course, as we'll perhaps see in this or future videos, lots of people's responses are, hold on a minute, you can't define things into existence, even by saying they must exist, even by describing them as being necessary rather than contingent. And actually, that isn't so bad a response as it initially. Initially, it sounds a bit flippant and, oh, you can't define things into existence. Well, actually, I'm not sure you can. I think Bertrand Russell's objection that existence is a statement about a thing along with its properties is actually quite a good rebuttal of the ontological argument.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Dave.